Good evening, Patriots, and welcome to another edition of the Douglas Ducote Show. You had many places you could be tonight, but you chose to be here with me, and for that, I am forever grateful. Thank you very, very much. We have a lot to cover tonight, and primarily tonight's show is going to be about the second attempt on Donald Trump's life and why it's happening. And if you don't know why it's happening, well, you tune into the right place to get those answers because I've got them for you. But before we dive into that, I would like to give a shout out to my good friends, Remy and Emily from Belgium. They're here visiting in America for 2 weeks. We took them out on our boat this past Saturday. And before we parted, they gave me a bottle of select bourbon whiskey called Lusty Claw. And it's in this very patriotic themed bottle that I'm going to show you. They love this show. And they said that the eagle themed bottle reminded them of me. So I want y'all to check this out. This is so freaking cool. This is the bottle of whiskey that they gave me. It's just, this bottle is awesome. I don't know what the whiskey tastes like yet, but I can tell you that even if it was bad, the bottle in itself is so patriotic. I love it dearly. So once again, thank you for this wonderful gift. It was a pleasure spending the day on the water with you guys. I hope the remaining part of your trip here in America is wonderful, just like the two of you are. And I wish you safe travels back to Belgium. I promise Marilyn and I will come visit in the near future. With that being said, let's talk about what's currently going on. Once again, why do we have another attempt to assassinate former President of the United States, Donald J. Trump? What could possibly be the motive behind this madness? Now, besides my military service, I would also, for those of you who don't know, I worked in law enforcement for almost 9 years, actually a little over 9 years. I'm about to answer the questions for you. The FBI, during their press conference on Sunday, asked the public if you have any information about this assassination attempt to please contact them. Well, I will use my voice via social media platforms where I reach millions of people to do just that. That being said, trust me, the FBI is watching this show in real time. They monitor my show and my videos because of the relentless attacks and threats of incitement of violence against me and my family from the crazy far left liberals of our society. So to the FBI agent that's monitoring the Douglas Ducote Show tonight, what's up, man or woman? Back to the question. Why is this happening? Why does Donald J. Trump have a target on his back? The answer is very simple. And the FBI, the Department of Justice, and the Secret Service, well, they know all too well why this is happening, and they know exactly what I'm about to say. It's because of the Democrat members of Congress in both the House and Senate that are inciting violence against the former president. It's because of the thousands of liberal and far-left members of Hollywood, actors and actresses that are inciting violence against the former president. It's because of the professional sports players that are inciting violence against the former president. You know, those that make millions of dollars to take a knee. And it's because of the thousands of far-left liberal social media keyboard warriors that are inciting violence against the former president. What are some of these things that they're saying, which in turn causes the left and the Democrats to hate Trump and want to see him assassinated? These social media keyboard warriors, left-wing news media outlets like MSNBC and CNN, professional athletes, singers, actors, and actresses in Hollywood, members of Congress, and the current president and vice president, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, are inciting violence every time that they call Trump a fascist, a white supremacist, a wannabe dictator, saying Trump's no different than those in the KKK, saying he's a racist, and the worst of all, comparing Donald Trump to Hitler. You see, when you keep doing this over and over and over again to a part of our society that tunes in and listens to this crap, they're too stupid to do their own homework, and they believe you. Maybe it's because you're somebody like Taylor Swift that just they worship her like a goddess. Or maybe it's because of what Kamala Harris says or Joe Biden says, because, oh, that's their man and woman. Or it's somebody in Hollywood that they just happen to think is the greatest of all. All of this is inciting violence against Donald J. Trump. And even, yes, people like me and you, anybody that considers himself part of MAGA, Make America Great Again. You see, in American criminal law, incitement is the encouragement of another person to commit a crime. Depending on the jurisdiction, some or all types of incitement is illegal. Where illegal, it is known as an offense, where harm is intended but may or not have occurred. Now, the First Amendment to the United States Constitution guarantees freedom of speech. And the degree to which incitement is protected speech is determined by the imminent lawless action test. Many of you probably never even heard that before. It was introduced in 1969 by the Supreme Court decision in the case Brandenburg versus Ohio. The court ruled that incitement of events, the infinite future, was protected, but encouragement of imminent illegal acts was not protected. This view reflects longstanding law and is shared by the Federalist Society, the American Civil Liberties Union, and the Foundation of Individual Rights and Expression. In 2021, you may remember the House Democrats in Congress. Remember what they impeached Donald Trump for? It was for incitement of an insurrection, for allegedly provoking the January 6th Capitol attack, which we're going to talk a little bit more about here in a minute. Of course, he was acquitted by a majority of the U.S. Senate. It's pretty damn simple and does not require a PhD in criminal justice. And the FBI and Department of Justice and the Secret Service know it's pretty damn simple why this is all happening. And they also know damn good and well how to stop it from happening. The FBI and the Department of Justice and the Secret Service need to enforce the current laws on the books here in America when it comes to the crime of incitement of violence. If they did this, if they did their job, enforce the laws on the books, we would see the attempts to assassinate former President Donald J. Trump stop cold in its tracks. Start arresting the members of Congress, the actors and actresses, the professional ball players, and the liberal keyboard warriors who are committing the crime of incitement of violence. These people are responsible for these mentally disturbed individuals attempting to assassinate Trump. Anyone that has hundreds of thousands and or millions of followers on social media, and I mean anyone who makes the comment that Donald Trump is a threat to our democracy and must be stopped at all cost, is inciting violence against him. Facts matter, and continuing to ignore these facts is only going to get former President Donald J. Trump killed. Do your job, FBI, Department of Justice, Secret Service. We, the people, pay your salary. You work for us. And all we're asking is enforce the current laws in America on incitement of violence and start making arrests of these people. Now, the left and the Democrats, if you paid any attention after the first assassination attempt or this second assassination attempt, they're trying to spin this. They're blaming Donald Trump for his own assassination attempt. They're blaming MAGA Republicans and conservatives for what has now attempted twice on Donald Trump's life. They are sick and twisted to think that, for instance, because conservatives and Republicans love guns so much, that we're responsible for what happened to Donald J. Trump. It's us. It's conservatives. It's Republicans. They think that by Trump saying that Mexico is not sending its finest across the border is inciting violence. Seems strange to me. They think that because Donald Trump invited people to come peacefully protest at what turned out to be known now as J6 is inciting violence. Did Donald Trump ever say, come to the Capitol, bust in there, attack police officers, and take over the building? No, he didn't. But that's what they want you to believe. Because there was a protest a few years ago where, yes, some not so nice white people marched with torches in the street at night. Donald Trump commenting about both sides, saying that there were good people on both sides of the aisle, as well as bad people. But they didn't cover the bad person part. No, just that there were good people. And therefore, they want you to believe that he meant that those carrying the torches and that were white supremacists were good people. Therefore, he's a threat to democracy. It's all spin. It's all a lie. So I challenge anyone on the left or Democrats to show me Donald J. Trump or anyone that's a Republican or conservative or MAGA supporter going to a microphone and a camera and actually calling for violence against a sitting president or member of Congress. I can do it. In fact, I'm going to share that with you right now. What inciting violence looks like and why Donald Trump has a target on his back.
I just don't even know why there aren't uprisings all over the country. Maybe there will be.
People need to start taking to the streets. This is a dictator.
You know, there needs to be unrest in the streets for as long as there's unrest in our lives.
Enemies of the state.
Show me where it says that protests are supposed to be polite and peaceful.
Do something about your dad's immigration practices, you feckless.
When they go low, we can.
How do you resist the temptation to run up and wring her neck?
The biggest terror threat in this country is white men, most of them radicalized right up to the right.
I thought he should have punched him in the face. I said, even if you lost, he insulted your wife. Yes. He came down the escalator and called Mexicans rapists and murderers. He said, well, what do you think I should have done? I said, I think you should have punched him in the face. And then gotten out of the race. He would have been a hero.
I'd like to punch him in the face. I said if we were in high school, I'd take him behind the gym and beat the hell out of him.
Punch some people in the face.
When was the last time an actor assassinated a president?
They're still going to have to go out and put a bullet in Donald Trump, and that's a fact.
Look, as his character is stabbed to death.
Where is John Wilkes Booth when you need him?
I have thought an awful lot about blowing up the White House.
A Missouri state senator is under investigation by the Secret Service after saying she hopes President Trump is assassinated.
I will go and take Trump out tonight.
And if you see anybody from that cabinet in a restaurant, in a department store, at a gasoline station, you get out and you create a crowd. And you push back on them. And you tell them they're not welcome anymore, anywhere.
And sadly, the domestic enemies to our voting system and our honoring our Constitution are right at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue.
They're not going to stop before Election Day in November, and they're not going to stop after Election Day. And that should be, everyone should take note of that on both levels, that this isn't, they're not going to let up, and they should not.
If you think we're rallying now, you ain't seen nothing yet.
Every one of them are inciting violence. And the Department of Justice and the FBI and the Secret Service should be actively involved in arresting them and charging them with such. But because they're Democrats, you think that's going to happen? So liberals and Democrats, please share with me Republicans saying what these people are saying. I've never seen it. Educate me, please. If the videos exist of people that have hundreds of thousands or millions of followers that look up to them saying this type of rhetoric, please share it with me. Now, I know you won't because they don't exist. Because Republicans and conservatives don't do this kind of shit. This is left to the Democrats that have been hijacked by the far left liberals. So let's look at a few other cases of how bad this really is.
Campaign to do that. because he's going to reach out to his supporters and say, let's take this down. We do not know, again, the source of any gunshot or gunshots. We don't know who's responsible for this. The whole thing has yet to be 100% confirmed from start to finish how this all played out. But do you expect to hear anything from the Trump campaign about toning down the rhetoric, toning down the violence, or would that be atypical of the former president?
I don't know how long this could, this moment of unity for the country where we come together and we say, I don't want any political opposition to be under threat of violence. It's not okay, any threat of violence, we don't want. I would love for us to have a unity type moment, but I think it's probably going to be pretty fleeting as we've seen in the past.
Trump needs to tone down the violent words coming out of his mouth. They're blaming Trump for what's happening to him. Again, imagine if Republicans or even Donald Trump was saying the things that they're saying that I'm sharing with you tonight. They would lose their damn minds. But Republicans and conservatives aren't inciting violence. It's the left and it's the Democrats that are doing such. For instance, like this.
I wanted to begin by asking you about something that Donald Trump said. And I want you to imagine coming upon this if you were now, today, at Thousand Oaks Elementary School in Berkeley, California, where you went to school. If you were a girl there now, 8th grader, and you're on the bus on the way home, you're walking home, and this quote pops up on your phone of Donald Trump saying, "They're poisoning the blood of our country." When you got home after reading that, what would you say to your mother? He's talking about your blood.
So, I was raised, as you know, a child of parents who were active in the civil rights movement. And I was raised knowing that there will be some people who will use their voice in a way that is meant to dehumanize, meant to suggest that the vast majority of us don't have anything in common, when in fact the vast majority of us have more in common than what separates us. And I would interpret it, I think, then as I do now, which it is language that is meant to divide us. It is language that I think people have rightly found similar to the language of Hitler. And I think it's just critically important that we remind each other, including our children, that the true measure of the strength of a leader is based not on who they beat down, but who they lift up.
Well, when you take his words out of context and you don't share all of what he was talking about, just that little bitty piece, and try to make your viewers believe that Donald Trump was saying that all illegal aliens coming across here are poisoning the blood of Americans, then I guess you could feel that way. Kamala Harris knows that's not true. She knows that he wasn't talking about black people. He wasn't talking about people from India. He was talking about the ones that are committing violence in America. They're taking over apartment complexes up in Aurora, Colorado, that are bringing over fentanyl and sex trafficking men, women, and children. But no. Let's spin it into something it's not. And then get the Vice President of the United States to try and link, what a far stretch, to link Donald Trump to Hitler. Is that not inciting violence? When these deranged people, and you have to be deranged if you want to murder someone only because you don't like them or their political ways, that's inciting violence. There's no other way of putting it. So, besides her, what about that loser stolen valor guy that she chose to be her VP? You think he's inciting violence within hours of the second attempt on Donald Trump's life?
These guys are just weird. That's who they are. So, in a nutshell, don't give them the power. Look, are they a threat to democracy? Yes. Are they going to take our rights away? Yes. Are they going to put people's lives in danger? Yes. Are they going to endanger the planet by not dealing with climate change? Yes, they're going to do all that. But don't lift these guys up like they're sometimes the heroes. Everybody in this room knows, I know it as a teacher, a bully has no self-confidence. A bully has no strength. They have nothing. The fascists depend on fear. The fascists depend on us going back. But we're not afraid of weird people. We're a little bit creeped out, but we're not afraid. But look, and then as you heard this, and one day ago, a poll came out and showed Kamala Harris up 10 points and Donald Trump getting his ass handed to him in Minnesota. But he's here today in the state of hockey to complete his trifecta. He lost in 16, he lost in 20, he loses in 24.
You know who needs to get their ass handed to them? That lowlife son of a bitch. How about just outright joking about Trump being eliminated from planet Earth?
If you had to be stuck in an elevator with either President Trump, Mike Pence, or Jeff Sessions, who would it be? Does one of us have to come out alive?
And it is just unquestionable at this point that that man cannot see public office again. He is not only unfit, he is destructive to our democracy, and he has to be eliminated.
He has to be eliminated. Once again, Democrats and liberals, show me Republicans and conservatives in Hollywood, in Congress, in professional athletes, singers, anyone with hundreds of thousands or millions of followers saying these types of things about Joe Biden or about Kamala Harris or about anyone that's a Democrat. That's your homework. Send it to Douglas at douglasducote.com. I want to see the video. But you won't, because they don't exist. Republicans and conservatives don't do this kind of shit. Why? Because it's illegal. So why isn't the Department of Justice and the FBI and the Secret Service prosecuting them for inciting violence. That's what they're doing. And the dementia man himself, Joe Biden himself, inciting violence.
Tonight, I've come to this place where it all began to speak as plainly as I can to the nation about the threats we face, about the power we have in our own hands to meet these threats, and about the incredible future that lies in front of us if only we choose it. Too much of what's happening in our country today is not normal. Donald Trump and the MAGA Republicans represent an extremism that threatens the very foundations of our republic. Now, I want to be very clear up front. Not every Republican, not even the majority of Republicans are MAGA Republicans. Not every Republican embraces their extreme ideology. MAGA forces are determined to take this country backwards to an America where there is no right to choose, no right to privacy, no right to contraception, no right to marry who you love. They promote authoritarian leaders and they fan the flames of political violence that are a threat to our personal rights, to the pursuit of justice, to the rule of law, to the very soul of this country. That's why tonight I'm asking our nation to come together, unite behind the single purpose of defending our democracy regardless of your ideology. We're all called by duty and conscience to confront extremists who put their own pursuit of power above all else. Democrats, independents, mainstream Republicans, we must be stronger, more determined, and more committed to saving American democracy than MAGA Republicans are to destroying American democracy. We, the people, will not let anyone or anything tear us apart. I will not stand by and watch. The will of the American people be overturned by wild conspiracy theories and baseless evidence-free claims of fraud. I will not stand by and watch elections in this country stolen by people who simply refuse to accept that they lost. I will not stand by and watch the most fundamental freedom in this country, the freedom to vote, and have your vote counted and be taken from you and the American people. So speak up, speak out, get engaged, vote, vote, vote. And if we do our duty in 2022 and beyond, then ages still to come will say, we, all of us here, we kept the faith. We preserved democracy. We are the United States of America, the United States of America. And may God protect our nation, and may God protect all those who stand watch over our democracy. God bless you all. Democracy. Thank you.
The President of the United States, Joe Biden. Trump and his supporters are extremists and a threat to democracy. You must confront MAGA supporters. But it's Donald Trump's fault. It's your fault. Anyone that wants to see this country great again, and when I say great again, what does MAGA mean? It means put the criminals away, close the borders, stop the cartel from drug trafficking, from sex trafficking. It means supporting our military, our veterans, our law enforcement officers. Take the target off their backs. It means bringing the world back into a peaceful solution for mankind instead of violent wars that are happening because the leadership's too weak to do a damn thing about it. It means making the economy good again. Imagine what the economy was when Trump took office in the first year, where it was going. It was wonderful. And then COVID happened. And then the Democrats want you to believe that Donald Trump lost millions and millions of jobs and they brought them back. No, they didn't do a damn thing. The jobs were lost because of COVID, not because of Donald Trump. The economy was doing wonderful. People were working. Gas's price was low. Food costs were low. Where are they at now compared to where they were when Donald Trump was president before COVID happened? And then Joe Biden, Kamala Harris come into control, and COVID finally starts to go away and not be as bad anymore. And they want you to believe that all these jobs they're creating, they're not creating a damn thing. These jobs are from people that lost their jobs because of COVID, when the country shut down. Finally getting to go back to work. And then do you think that after the second attempt to kill Donald Trump, that this administration of Joe and Kamala will turn away from calling Trump a threat and stop their incitement of violence against him? You think that maybe they'd tone it down? If your answer is yes, then you clearly don't agree that what they're doing is wrong. And you clearly don't understand how dangerous their words are. And here's proof that they will stay the course and continue to incite violence against Donald Trump by a simple question asked of the press secretary.
It's been only 2 days since somebody allegedly tried to kill Donald Trump again. And you're here at the podium in the White House briefing room calling him a threat. How many more assassination attempts on Donald Trump until the president and the vice president and you pick a different word to describe Trump other than threat?
Peter, if anything from this administration, I actually completely disagree with the premise of your question, the question that you're asking. It is also incredibly dangerous in the way that you're asking it, because American people are watching. And to say that from an administration who has consistently condemned political violence, from an administration where the president called the former president and was thankful, grateful that he was okay, from an administration who has called out January 6th, called out the attack of Paul Pelosi, called out and said we need to lower the temperature after the Butler incident, and now for you to make that kind of comment in your question, because your question involved a comment and a statement. And, it is, that is also incredibly dangerous. When we have been very clear in condemning political violence from here, what I have said about the president, the former president, about January 6th is facts that you all have reported. It is fact. When you have a former president who basically says that the election wasn't, the results of the election were not the results of the election. When dozens of more than 60 Republican judges said that it was a free and fair election. More than 60 said it was indeed a free and fair election. You had more than 2,000 people who were told to go to the Capitol. It was one of the darkest days of our democracy. One of the darkest days. There were people law enforcement officers who died because of what happened at the Capitol. And they were there because the former president told them to go there. I mean, I don't know if that's not a threat in our democracy when it was one of the darkest days of our democracy. January 6th, one of the darkest days. And so we have been very clear from here. Now, we can have a disagreement on policies. We can, on issues. That is what we should do. It is important to have those disagreements. It is welcome to have those disagreements on the economy, on healthcare, on foreign policy. But when you start bringing political rhetoric, that is not okay. And that's what you've heard from us too. You've heard of differences on policies.
But to your point, there are people watching at home who might miss the part where you say, let's lower the temperature, and there are mentally unstable people who are attempting to kill political candidates, attempting to kill Donald Trump, and they are still hearing this White House refer to him as a...
The saddest part about listening to that is she really does believe the crap that's coming out of her pie hole. She believes it. She's delusional. She, along with this administration, are pathological liars. You see, not a single judge in the United States of America was willing to hear the case of election fraud that Trump and Republicans were saying they had proof of. Not one. Yet, she stands up there at that podium and lies and said more than 60 Republican judges said it was a fair election. There was no trial. There was no hearings. No judges allowed the evidence to come forward. None. Trump never, ever told anyone to go to the Capitol and conduct violence of any kind. He told his supporters to come to the Capitol and exercise their First Amendment rights to peacefully protest. Yet she still wants you to believe that Trump is responsible for what happened on J6. Not a single police officer died in the line of duty on J6. Were some injured? Yeah. Killed? No. She's a liar. And the ones that were injured, the police officers that were injured, those that did that, are being held accountable for their actions, as they should be. And furthermore, the only person that was killed on J6 was a female Republican United States military veteran who was unarmed and not a threat to anyone. Her name was Ashley Babbitt, and she was murdered by a trigger-happy Capitol police officer. So once again, all we get from this administration and their press secretary is bold-faced lies and no merit statements. But the people that they're pandering to are too damn stupid to do their own homework and realize that they're being lied to. Now, the last thing I want to add about Donald Trump's second assassination attempt is the cover-up that's taken place. Cover-up by the FBI, the Department of Justice, the Secret Service, and this administration. Cover-up. A top Senate Democrat, not Republican, although they are as equally upset, is blasting the Biden-Harris administration for stonewalling in response to requests for information on the assassination attempts of former President Donald Trump and the potential failures of the U.S. Secret Service. And that Democrat is Senator Richard Blumenthal, Democrat, Connecticut. He's the chairman of the Permanent Subcommittee on Investigations within the Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs Committee. Said the Department of Homeland Security was almost derelict in its duty by resisting our requests for documents, evidence, and information that are necessary for us to do our investigation. The Democrat reiterated his disappointment in the department and added that he has become angry at the Department of Homeland Security has not been more forthcoming. The Democrat foreshadowed potential subpoenas being used in the future, telling reporters yesterday, we may need to require more cooperation from them, and we will have the power to do so through the process of subpoena power. Senator Ron Johnson, ranking member, echoed Blumenthal's characterization of the Department of Homeland Security and its lack of transparency, claiming they're holding all their cards close to the vest. In fact, he said their withholding of information is driving suspicion and driving conspiracy theories. As for his Democrat counterpart, Chairman Gary Peters, Democrat, Michigan, I hope they're getting frustrated. I wrote a letter that took us a couple of weeks for all four offices to sign on to. That's the one that upsets them because we sent it to the Secret Service and Department of Homeland Security. We got a response in 4 hours, and the response was pretty disrespectful, he described. And I think that fired up Chairman Peters and Chairman Blumenthal. I think that's the reaction you heard last week. They're not happy with the way they're treating them. Department of Homeland Security spokesperson responded, saying the agency remains committed to working in good faith and making every effort to cooperate with the appropriate and relevant investigations into the July 13th to identify how this happened and how to prevent it from happening again. Since July 13th, the department and the U.S. Secret Service have provided the Senate with multiple briefings, nearly 2,500 pages of documents, and more than 50 hours of transcribed interviews, the Department of Homeland Security said. It has done so while also cooperating with investigations by the House Special Task Force, the independent review panel directed by the President Joe Biden himself, the Department of Homeland Security, OIG, and the Government Accountability Office. Claims that the Department and Secret Service are not cooperating are false and fail to recognize the robust response and ongoing work to meet Congress's oversight requests and our clear commitment to accountability for the events of July 13th. So let me see if I understand this talking point by this administration, shall we? Democrat members of Congress investigating the attempted assassination of Donald Trump are lying about you guys? Is that what you're saying? Just like you claim the Republicans are lying about your incompetence? How strange is that? How about you tell Congress and we the people what you are trying to hide and don't want Congress, us, to know about when it comes to the assassination attempts? When there is a bipartisan anything out of Congress, I tend to believe it over anything this administration has to say. So, what is it, guys? The powers that be in control are involved with this assassination attempts? Joe and Camilla wanted Trump assassinated? Maybe, and you don't want the people to find out about it right before the election in November? What else are we to take from you stonewalling Congress on the assassination attempts of Donald J. Trump, other than there's proof there that, quote, they're in on it? It pains me every time, as a former law enforcement officer, when I have to call out members of law enforcement for being incompetent fools. And as a former member of the United States government, serving the United States military, it pains me to call out our government. You know the old saying that I love my country, but I'm afraid of my government? This government is gone rogue on Hunter Biden crack. This is going to go down as the darkest days in our country, not J6. What the Democrats are doing to this country and to Donald Trump and to his supporters and MAGA and Republicans and conservatives, that is a threat to democracy. Am I allowed to say that? As a Republican, as a conservative, as a MAGA supporter? Am I allowed to say that they're a threat to democracy? Like they're saying we're a threat to democracy? Or am I going to go to jail because I'm a Republican, a conservative, and MAGA for saying it? Or am I going to get treated equally and not be charged with inciting violence by saying they're a threat to democracy, like they're saying we're a threat to democracy? At this point in the game, I don't give a shit anymore. I'm so pissed off at the powers that be in our government, to include the head of the Department of Justice, the head of the FBI, the head of the Secret Service. They are a disgrace, not only to the badge they wear, the uniform they put on, but they're a disgrace to the United States of America. And people need to remember that in November when you go to vote. Again, Democrats and liberals, please, I challenge you. Show me video clips of any Republican or conservative that has hundreds of thousands of millions of followers, like everybody I showed you tonight, saying that same type of rhetoric, inciting violence. You can't, because it doesn't exist. Now, you can call me a liar. Go ahead. I showed you the clips tonight. I proved my point tonight. Why Donald J. Trump has a target on his back. And at the rate things are going, I firmly believe they see no other alternative than to eradicate him from planet Earth before the election. You had many places to be tonight. You chose to be here with me, and for that, I am forever grateful. If you haven't already done so, please subscribe to this channel. Wherever you're watching me tonight, whether it's live on Rumble or YouTube or X, formerly Twitter or LinkedIn, or you're going to follow up and watch the show tonight on DouglasDucote.com. Please like, subscribe, share my videos, share the channel. That's how we spread this and get the message out there that's important to anyone who plans to vote in November. Facts matter. The truth matters. And there's only one party that's trying their damnedest to expose that. And it sure as hell ain't the party that I used to belong to, the Democrats. That party that I belong to, the Democrat Party, no longer exists. Today, it's been hijacked by far left liberals and their crazy ideology of destruction of this country. And it goes all the way up to the man with dementia sitting at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, and the woman right below him who lied to you and said he was perfectly fine for the past few years. And giddy like a little schoolgirl when he stepped aside. As always, please say a prayer for our men and women serving in the United States military, our veterans, our law enforcement officers, our first responders, their families, our angel families, our blue and gold star families in our country. May God bless the United States of America. May God bless each and every one of you. And here's your homework. If you do not know what angel families are, or you do not know what blue and gold star families are, please look that up, because they need our support now more than ever before. Because this current administration of Joe Biden and Kamala Harris are pissing on the graves of their loved ones. And that should piss off everyone that is an American citizen. Join me back here on Thursday night at 8 p.m. Central Time for another live broadcast of the Douglas Ducote Show. Until then, God bless you. Have a wonderful evening, and I'll see you soon.